Welcome back to DCC Sodor, everyone. Today we're going to be looking at how I installed DCC into this Bachmann Henry model. First thing you're going to want to do is to dismantle the model. That includes taking off Henry's front wheels, depending on what you want to call it, bogie, pony truck. There's one screw for that, and then underneath that there's a second screw which you'll see in the picture. This screw holds the chassis into the body, and you'll see in this second picture here that there's also a little tab that is inserted into the cab area where almost where the firebox would be, that also holds the chassis and the body together. Once you've gotten the chassis free from the body, you'll see a circuit board if you have a newer Henry model. If not, you'll also have to take off the gear train from the chassis. So that's the big where the motor sits. You'll see the wires. There should be one screw in the back, and then it clicks in the front. There's a little tab that holds it in. And once you pull that off, you'll see the circuit board. And this circuit board doesn't change between Henry models, just the positioning of it. Although some newer ones might have it soldered on. So if you unhook the little black tab that's on the first two wires, those will probably be the motor wires. Just take a picture of your circuit board to make sure that you know which wires go where. So in our case, the black and red, which usually on a DCC decoder are for the pickups to the motor, or the pickups from the chassis, and the orange and gray wires go to the motor. It's the other way around. You can have orange and brown, orange and gray, orange and black. Lots of different wires. Bachmann doesn't really standardize that. But once we've got all the wires off of that circuit board and we have that circuit board free, depending on what your application is and what kind of decoder you're using, for this install, I just used a bit of heat shrink and wired them directly together, and used the heat shrink as a splice between the two wires. So you'll just shrink that piece of heat shrink tubing over the exposed wire, and you'll have your circuit together. So you'll see a diagram here that I like to use from Digitrax that tells you exactly what colors you'll need for where. And then once you've done that, your install for just a typical DCC decoder would be complete. Now, doing a sound install is a bit more difficult, and I'm more just going to talk this part. I don't have a lot of pictures to show, but you'll see here I just have one singular TCS speaker, and that's, you can get some that have baffles already with them, and I suggest you get those. We made a baffle using plexiglass and just cut it out to the shape of the tender and cut an oval hole in it and hot glued the speaker there, and that speaker actually worked pretty well. Then we drilled some holes in the top of the tender, drilled a hole in the bottom, and I used two connectors, which you can just get off of Amazon. They're 2-pin JST connectors, or if you want, you can even get connectors from like TCS. They're 6-pin, 7-pin connectors, and you can wire those between the locomotive and the tender, and you could put all the decoder and the speaker in the tender itself. With Gordon's tender's a little bit bigger, so we were able to do that. But with Henry's, his is a little smaller. If it was a little more accurate to the TV show, it would work out. But that's neither here nor there. So I just decided, because I got such a small Loke-Sound decoder, you can see it here. I'll put a list of all the tools I used in the description below, and all the different products, such as my TCS speakers, decoders, in the description. But this low sound microdecoder fit inside Henry's firebox, so I just left it there and didn't bother wiring between the two sections. So once you've gotten the speaker housing ready, or however you decide to install the speaker, you don't have to install it the way we installed it. There's tons and tons of ways to install speakers to get the sound quality you want. So once you've installed the speaker the way you want it, you want to drill a hole in the bottom of the tender so that you can get the wires from between the tender and Henry's front locomotive section. There's 2 brown wires on a low sound decoder that they use for speakers. And if you're running speakers in series, you'll want to make sure you know which one is speaker plus and speaker minus. But since I'm only using one speaker and not multiple speakers, it doesn't really matter. So I wired the connectors onto the brown wires, used a little bit of electrical tape to keep them in place, and then wired the speaker wires from the other side of the connector. I wired those onto the speaker itself and then plugged the 2 in, and we were good to go. So you'll see a video here in just a second of me testing out the sound files when I first did it before the tender was finished and it was ready to have the speaker enclosure installed. So you'll hear that, and then the next thing you'll hear is when I'm pretty sure I have them all about finalized. Not too sure yet how I feel I might be messing with some more sounds in the future, but you'll see that we have, or actually you'll hear that everything's pretty loud. I had to crank up the volume on a lot of the sounds, but it's still a nice loud decoder. And I really like this low sound decoder much better than my Digitrax one I have for Gordon, because this one's actually has 16-bit sound, not 8-bit sound. Tons of space. You can play almost 10 sounds at once. And there's tons and tons of space to add sort of fun sounds, and anything else. Like companies like Rapido always add fun stuff in there, and I think that's really cool. So, yeah, give this a try yourself if you'd like. And with next install will be Emily. So with Emily, I'm planning on doing a full video, like start to finish. This is how we did it. Certain things you might not see because they'll make a mess on the workbench or the kitchen table, whatever you use. I always suggest, if you have a workshop or something that you can work in when you need to cut things and make messes, do that. But yeah, so listen to some sounds, and I hope you guys enjoyed. And again, if anyone's ever trying this out and you run into some issues, please feel free to reach out on Twitter DMs, Instagram DMs. I have both. Just look for @BGM Studios on Instagram and @BGM Reviews on Twitter, and you'll find him. You'll find me, not him, because I'm me. Anyways, rambled on for long enough, so listen to some sounds and enjoy some running of Henry. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Now we'll show them, Henry, old fellow. You're spoiling my fire. Wait and see. We'll have a roaring fire just when we want. How are you, Henry? I feel fine. Have you a good fire, driver? Never better, sir. Plenty of steam. No record breaking. Don't push him too hard. Henry won't need pushing, sir. I'll have to hold What's this? A cow? I'll soon settle her. Be off! Be off! Now we'll show them, Henry, old fellow. You're spoiling my fire. Wait and see. We'll have a roaring fire just when we want. How are you, Henry? I feel fine. Are you a good fire driver? Never better, sir. Plenty of steam. No record breaking. Don't push him too hard. Henry won't need pushing, sir. I'll have to hold him back. It isn't wrong, but we just don't do it. I always work hard enough for two. I deserve another tender. What's this? A cow? I'll soon settle her. Be off! Be off!
What?